The first time you open an SFM dictionary file in Solid, you need to specify a template. This template will be copied into the same location as your dictionary file and given the same name, .solid. The settings shown in the top left pane will be stored in that .solid file. Modify those settings to get fewer errors or more errors showing up in the bottom left pane. These represent all the errors found in the file based on whether or not each field marker occurs under a valid parent field. For example, SN can only occur under PS, and that's shown in this column under Structure. The PS marker can only be found under SE or LX. There are also settings for controlling how often a field can occur per parent, and you should almost always choose one of the first two options. The marker settings can be sorted by name or by count. Sorting by count is often helpful in finding very rarely used fields or typos. The very rarely used fields may best be turned into note fields so that there's less to manage. And typos, for example, this D_ID field and D_IND field should be modified so that they're correctly DN fields instead. We can ignore the writing system and lift columns unless we plan to be exporting directly to lift XML from Solid. To browse all records in the lexicon on the right side, click the LX field in the top left. This will show all matching records on the right side so you can get to the first record and then browse one by one. You can also use the search button to find specific entries. Errors are indicated by turning the field markers red. In this case, the first SN and second SN fields are both marked as errors. This is a mostly good record with only a few errors. In this case, the SN field is marked, but the actual problem is the VA field. If we very carefully highlight and cut and paste this up, and then use the small refresh, we can see that the problem goes away. The other refresh button is for rechecking the entire file, and that's what you need to click when you have changed a setting in the top left. If you're only changing data in the right pane, you can just refresh the right pane. After doing a recheck, you may lose your place and need to go find where you were again. Alternatively, we could have solved this by leaving the VA field where it was, but changing the setting to allow VA to also be a child of PS. The problem with doing it this way is that it'll mask other possible problems. For example, the second VA is under a PS under an SE. Now, Flex is able to import VAs no matter where they are found, all into the root LX, but in this case we want the VA to be a child of SE. And Solid won't help us to find and fix these if we allow VA in too many places. So for the sake of Flex, the solution here would be to move VA up, and then we would need to license it as only a child of SE. We now have a record that is correct, but it is missing some inferred markers that Solid is adding, the SN and RF. Once we get the entire file down to 0 errors, then it should be safe to run a quick fix and make markers real, to turn SN and RF into real markers. But you don't want to do that while you still have outstanding errors, because then Solid may infer these markers in the wrong places.